OK, let's continue our Champions League build-up. 3 English clubs in action tonight, 4 games, of course, and our European football expert, Dougie Critchley, joins me now. Dougie, nice to see you, mate. Obviously, lots to talk about tonight, but we are going to start with Tottenham Hotspur and their problematic season that they're having.
Yeah, it's been really difficult. I mean, this calendar year, they are the only Premier League side yet to win. They've lost 5 straight games. They're now just 1 point above the relegation zone with 9 games to go. So the unthinkable could become a reality. But the Champions League has given them some respite this season. They finished 4th in the league phase. They qualified automatically for this phase. Despite their issues in the league, they beat the likes of Dortmund and Villarreal and Frankfurt, etc. But they are the underdogs, I would say, against Atletico Madrid tonight. Atletico Madrid, under Diego Simeone, have never lost a Champions League knockout game at home. In 19 attempts, they've won 13 games. They're comfortable in the top 4 of La Liga. They did lose last week to Barcelona in the Copa del Rey second leg of their semi-final, but they created such a deficit or an advantage in that first leg that they are through to the final there. But Spurs, is this an unnecessary sort of distraction? Because they go to Anfield this weekend, they then host Atletico Madrid next week, and then they go to the City Ground to play Nottingham Forest in that well-known cliché, a relegation 6-pointer. Igor Tudor will be kind of desperate to just survive, I think, this tie. Hopefully they can get through, but it doesn't feel like a priority right now, given their perilous position in the league. Yeah,
fair enough. As for Liverpool, 100 games up for Arne Slot tonight. They're taking on Galatasaray in Istanbul, the stadium they've got fond memories of course, having won the Champions League there against AC Milan, wasn't it, many years back. But big game for Liverpool as well.
Yeah, absolutely massive. And Galatasaray's recent record against English sides is very impressive. So we've got it here. They've only lost 1 of their last 9 Champions League home games against English opposition. Liverpool have never won on their 3 previous trips to Turkey to play Turkish opposition. They lost against Galatasaray in the league phase as well, thanks to that Victor Osimhen penalty. They went through in the FA Cup at the weekend, Liverpool, but their Premier League form has been very up and down. They've lost against Bournemouth, Wolves, Man City so far this calendar year as well. They are still in with a fight of getting into that top 4. They're only 3 points behind third place Man United. But their Champions League form has generally been very good this year. Aside from that defeat to Galatasaray and PSV, they've beaten Real Madrid, they've beaten Atletico Madrid, they've beaten Inter Milan. So they can turn it on occasion, but it just feels like this season we haven't really known what to expect from them. But given the fact they are very unlikely, I would say, to win the FA Cup, given that Man City and Arsenal are still in that, this represents a real opportunity to get some silverware from what's been a really disappointing season. So they'll be desperate to go through against the Galatasaray side that did beat Juventus in the last leg, or the last tie, but they lost quite heavily in Turin and actually ended up having to need extra time to get through in that tie. So Liverpool, I make favourites for this tie, but they cannot sleep on Galatasaray.
Yeah, worth saying, when they did win the Champions League there, they actually drew the game, didn't they, against Milan, won on penalties. So, yeah, getting a win there might be tough. Maybe they take a draw. Right, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm going to be up at St James's Park for this, praying for a repeat of 1997, when Tino Asprilla scored a hat-trick and Newcastle beat a Barcelona side that had Luis Figo and Rivaldo and so on. But slightly different situation this time around.
Yeah, I mean, for Asprilla back then, maybe Anthony... Yeah, I mean, Gordon this time round. He's scored 2 goals so far this season. He's now Newcastle's all-time top goal scorer in the competition. Only Erling Haaland and Van Nistelrooy, with 12, have scored more goals for an English side in the Champions League in an entire season. And Newcastle, yes, they've played 10 games compared to some sides that have played 8, but they're actually the top goal scorers in this year's competition with 26. And they've already played Barcelona on match day 1, where they put in a really spirited display. I think they could have potentially got a draw from that game. Marcus Rashford scored 2 stunning goals in that one. As you know, Pete, Newcastle's Premier League season has been really up and down. They're actually closer to the relegation zone than the top 4. They lost on the weekend against Man City in the FA Cup, but they became just the 3rd English side to score 9 goals in a Champions League tie against Qarabag last time out. Barcelona have shown some defensive deficiencies throughout this entire season. They've lost to Chelsea, they've lost to PSG, but they've only conceded 1 goal in their last 4 games. They seem to be getting it together at the back, and Lamine Yamal goes into this tie, like Anthony Gordon, in brilliant Champions League form. I think he scored 4 goals in his last 4 games for Barcelona, including the winner at the weekend against Athletic Club. This is going to be really difficult for Newcastle, but it always feels like once per season they've got a phenomenal performance at home, and Eddie Howe and his side will be desperate that tonight is the night.
We certainly will. And elsewhere this evening, Bayern Munich. We don't know whether Harry Kane's going to be playing for them at this stage, but they've got a game against Atalanta, who always impress me when I watch them.
Yeah, they're very entertaining. They've got the likes of Mario Pasalic, who's in great form. Krstovic has been brilliant recently as well, but their Champions League knockout record isn't brilliant. They've only made it to the quarter-finals once. That was in 2019-20. They're actually looking to keep their first clean sheet in the Champions League knockout phase. They've never done so in 9 previous games. They've conceded 18 goals in those games. They've actually only won 1 of their last 7, I believe, in the Champions League knockout phase, but that did come against Dortmund, Bayern's Bundesliga rivals, I should say.
Yeah.
Bayern are 11 points clear in the Bundesliga. As you say, Harry Kane is a doubt for this one. I think England will probably be not too bothered whether he plays in this one or so. We just want him to be wrapped up in cotton wool